What's up, party people? It's Keys Dan with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live and in living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Famous. It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do I always send you? DJLittleRock.com. One more time, DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote, and maybe you could have me at your next event. You know I like to party with the people. The people need to be entertained. Are you not entertained? Let me entertain you. Speaking of entertainment, today on the program, I have David Ruffin Jr. on the podcast. Oh, you've heard that name. David Ruffin. Oh, yeah, Jr. Oh, you know a little bit about him, but you're going to know a little bit more in the next few minutes. So stick around for David Ruffin Jr. This week's shows, I have 3 public shows. Oh, my goodness. Usually I only have 1 public show. That's the one over at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. Friday nights from 8 p.m. until 12:30 in the AM. They got the video dance party karaoke jam. Yeah, I said karaoke. You're the stars of the show. They got a full bar. The kitchen's open. Pool tables. They got a pool tournament on Friday nights. So if you want to try your hand at playing pool and possibly make some money while you're doing it, while you're waiting to sing on stage next to little old me, you could do so at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. The video dance party karaoke jam starts at 8 p.m. and we go at least till 12:30 in the AM. Good times. And then on Saturday, oh my goodness, I got a party in the morning and one in the evening. And on Saturday morning from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., I will be at the Family Dollar grand opening in Stuttgart, Arkansas. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I did a Family Dollar grand opening. I was like, hey, something new, something different. And it was so good. And I got invited to do another Family Dollar grand opening. So I'm stoked about that. And I'll have some video dance party and some karaoke jamming out there. And they were giving away lots of prizes the last time I did a grand opening up in Marshall, Arkansas, about a month ago. So in Stuttgart, Arkansas, come find me from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. And then Saturday nights. That's right. I will be at Spectators in North Little Rock, pretty close to Sherwood, Arkansas. Spectators Bar and Grill. So, yeah, they got a bar and they got a grill. And they got yours truly with the video dance party karaoke jam. That one goes from 8 p.m. to at least midnight. I think last time I went to 11 and they said, could you stay a little longer? I stayed a little longer. No big deal. So, yeah, 8 p.m. until midnight at least. Spectators Bar and Grill in North Little Rock. All right, that's enough intro. You know where I'm going to be. You know the place you ought to be if you're anywhere in the Arkansas area. Come on out and play with me. Let's get into it with David Ruffin Jr. I got him on Skype, so if you're listening to the audio version, check out the video version on my YouTube page, youtube.com/user/KeysDan. Skyping David Ruffin Jr. now. What is up? David Ruffin Jr. in the house, man. Good to see you. Good to meet you. I'm so excited.
Thank you. It's good to see you as well. I'm glad we're getting there. We're getting there.
Oh, for sure. I know I've been, we've been passing each other in the night. I'm sorry about the other day. I think we were supposed to start at 7, and I don't know, technical difficulties and all that were.
But we'll just give it to that.
But eventually we come together, and it's a beautiful thing, man. David Ruffin Jr., I looked at your website. I don't do a lot of research when I'm doing these things, but, definitely for you, I listen to quite a bit of your music. You are on it, and we'll get to all that. We'll talk to that. But I want to talk about, the first thing that you see when you go to davidruffinjr.com is son of a legend, but I'm making my own way. I like it, Dr. J. That's a good place to start. If David Ruffin was writing his own biography, maybe his own Wikipedia page, who is a David Ruffin Jr.?
David Ruffin Jr. is the only son of the legendary soulful crooning voice of David Ruffin from the Temptations. Born and raised in Motown, Detroit, during a time when there was just love and peace in the air. And I am proud to carry the torch. That's been bestowed upon me, being his only son. I've got a lot of sisters, but I'm his only son. So that's who David Ruffin is, Jr. is as of today and for the past 15, 20 years.
Well, that's lofty. That's a lofty goal to be in the shadow of someone so great. I mean, look, I've seen a lot of the biopics, and I've seen different ways of how the story was told through different directors, different writers' eyes. But this is the story. I mean, the story begins before you were born, but then David Ruffin Jr. joins the show. You come into the world, and anybody can see, and read about David Ruffin's life, your dad's life. But David Ruffin, when you came into the world, how did things go?
Well, I mean, from what I don't recollect, things went rather quickly. Not necessarily smooth, but a bumpy ride, a long one. A fun one, a journey in itself, having to travel the road that my father set while he was living it. Very unpredictable, but chock full of surprises and fun.
Well, David Ruffin Jr., David, hopefully I can call you David. I know we don't know each other that well. All right, David. I mean, growing up, I worry about my own kids. I have one child that's still in the house. She's, just becoming a teenager. She's 16. And I worry because I work 60 hours a week. I work all day. And then nighttime, I'm doing the DJ thing. The weekends, I'm away from the house. I try to stay home on Sundays. And, when I was contemplating talking to you, I figured, I wonder how you dealt with, having a father that maybe was out on the road, or you say, did you go out on the road when you were a little kid?
I did. I went on the road with Dad quite a bit throughout my life, from different times of my life, different ages, but from as young as 3 to 9 and 10, and as old as 13, 14 on the reunion tour with my father. I've also toured with other groups and other bands, so I kind of know what's expected. I kind of know exactly what I'm gonna go through, having lived that life different times of my life. Once as I was young, and a little bit when I was older, and then again when I was even older, and then again. So I mean, it keeps. I keep getting refreshed, I should say. I mean, I've opened for other bands and other groups as well. I'm currently in a couple of groups as well. One of them being the Sons of Motown, which is an all-male offspring of a Temptation. They too have some of the same similar, experiences. Some of them have been around for a long time and watched their fathers before they were Temptations, during and after. So, I mean, I've had a lot of training, so to speak. Not only was my dad a Temptation, but some of his friends were Temptations as well throughout the years. And I've pretty much got to know or meet all of them. So, I mean, I was kind of secretly, quietly, behind the scenes bred to be a Temptation if and when needed to be.
Well, David, you have an interesting perspective on this world of entertainment. The entertainment business can be hard on a family, can be hard on relationships, can be hard living out on the road, in hotels, living out of a suitcase. It's a difficult thing. There was a time in my 20s when, I didn't have anybody. I was a single man, footloose and fancy free. So I went cross country, doing my little DJ thing, for singles parties and such. I even made it out as far as California, where you're at currently, and did some parties there in San Diego and LA and Bakersfield. Interesting terrain. That whole state is parts of it is mountains, parts of it is woods, parts of it is ocean. There's desert. It's an interesting state that you're living in right now. But you started in Motown, in Detroit, if I can use the French pronunciation, Detroit, right?
Detroit.
Yes, and I figure there's a lot of history. There's definitely a lot of history in Detroit, being the car capital of the world, Motor City, and I know that plays a lot. A little foreshadowing for how it's playing in your life right now, the Motor City, how that it looks like that's in your blood too, as well as the music.
It is. I actually have a huge affection and attraction to vehicles of many types, but in particular, I am a big fan of classics.
The classics, such as, because I listen to classic rock stations, and how come all the classic rock that's playing on those classic rock stations is what I listened to back in the bus in the early 80s to mid 80s? I'm a class of 90s, class of 86. So those are now classic rock songs. I know I'm getting older. We're getting older, David. But tell me about
you. Good. Well, you look good, though.
As do you, sir.
But being a part of Motown, both the city and the music entity, is that's a blessing, regardless of how you look at it. And although Dad was gone a lot, although I didn't necessarily like when I wasn't on the road and before I understood. I hated that he was gone. I hated everybody that he was in rehearsal with. I hated all of the people that were in the basement singing or playing instruments. I just wanted them to all be quiet and go away and not go away with my dad. But like you said, you kind of know what that's like. And so do I as a parent, having 3 male children. I also know I've been MIA at times when I didn't want to be. And, more times than not, an individual chooses this lifestyle, but this lifestyle chose me, and that had totally to do with having 2 parents for entertainers, both my mother and my father. So, I was either doomed, duped, or honored, which a little bit of all of the above, actually. I'm super honored at the end of the day. It's a privilege to be able to carry this torch. And although I didn't have my father as much as I wanted, I had enough of him, especially knowing he had to share himself with so many people on the planet.
Me included, of course. But okay, we've dwelled a little bit on your father, trying to get to your roots, how David Ruffin Jr. became who you are. But let's get into it with your mom. Tell me about your mother, and what did you glean from her? What did she do?
My mother was also an entertainer. My mother was a dancer for many, many, many years. She was a dancer well into her 40s and very good at it. She danced even behind my father during a Motown review in Detroit on a couple of occasions, if I'm not mistaken. But my mom is a great writer as well. She's a great writer. My father wasn't much of a writer. He was more of a singer. And my mom was the writer in the family before I became one. I have to say I kind of took over just because I write different types of, I have different expressions in writing than my mom did. Most of her writings came in poetry and some in song. But I like to write even treatments and commercial ideas and jingles and stuff like that. So, but my mom is super has a real huge influence on my capacity and even desire to be a writer. It was all by mistake. It wasn't force-fed to me by either one of them. Mom was like, whatever you want to do, it's fine with me. Dad was like, yeah, no, not whatever you want to do. You're going to be a singer and not a rapper, and that's that. But what guidance I did get from them that wasn't intentional was also a huge part, because I felt like some of the stuff that I was seeing, now I realized it was all just real and it wasn't fake. It wasn't Hollywood stuff. It was what Hollywood people go through. And it's a tough label. If you want to have a family and you Desire to be famous? Okay, someone's going to suffer as long as you know in advance. And I'll say that to anybody that's watching or listening, whether you're young or old or just now looking to get into a new career or entertainment of some sort. Just know, try to be yourself and stay yourself. Don't mimic, don't copy. It's enough internet out here as it is. Anyway, as you were, Dan, what were you saying?
No, notwithstanding the name of the podcast itself, what makes you famous. If you go into this industry, if you go into this career, if you go into any career looking for fame and fortune and not going into it because you have some interest, you have some love, you have some, it's a calling, so to speak. If you go into it thinking, oh, I'm going to be famous and I'm going to have lots of money, well, that, in my humble opinion, is the wrong way to do it. Okay, you had the best of both worlds. Me, from the outside, listening to just that snippet of story, you had watching a man, on the road, watching a performer, several performers, in fact. You've worked with several different bands, and then watching your mom, what she's doing. She's dancing, she's writing. You're gleaning, you're getting the best of both worlds. And that's all we can do as parents, is fill our kids with the tools that they'll need for the rest of their lives. I mean, I think there's two ways to parent. You could be a carpenter, which sounds like what your dad might have been, where you say, you're going to go down this path and I'm going to give you the tools just for that path. You're going to be a doctor. You're going to be a lawyer. You're going to be a singer. That's right. The path. That's a carpenter. Now, a gardener might be what your mom was. She said, whatever you want, I'm going to give you some books. I'm going to teach you how to write. Maybe I'll dance with you while I pull a record on. I'm going to, show you this. This is what I'm gleaning from that short bit of conversation. And I'm glad you had both of those in your life. How do you feel that you, and you're a father now in turn, how do you feel that you're putting yourself into your own offspring?
Humbled. It's a blessing to see the evolution of the bloodline. My children are very creative, very strong-willed, and I would say leaders in their circle and community of friends. My youngest son is athlete, and he is a crypto head, and he is a model, and he's just 6'7" of just wonderful human being. My eldest is also a singer. My middle child is choosing to take the less traveled road. He's fine. He's fine blending in, and I'm happy for him if that's what he wants. He's not an entertainer. He doesn't want to do that. Got a lot of friends, but he's not the one. And again, I'm like my mom was with it. Whatever makes you happy, whatever you want to do, I'll support that.
Good, David. I'd encourage your middle child to stay out of the entertainment business. It's rough out here. You have to hustle all the time. Yes, the money can be good, but the work is not steady. And once you're on stage, you're singing your song, you're dancing for the people, and what are you thinking in the back of your head? Where's the next job? Okay, I've made this job. I'm making this money. Where's my next job? Where do I have to go from here?
You're telling too much of our miseries. This is supposed to be a good topic program, broadcast.
Oh, this is a learning podcast. I take it from the late, great B.B. King, The Life of an Entertainer. You go to work at 9 p.m., and you get off work about the time the sun's coming up. That's our 9 to 5, is middle of the night, working with people. Sometimes you're in seedy clubs. And I like that, the people drinking and having a good time, but sometimes the people indulge too much, and we got to deal with that. Hey, sing that other song. I don't like that one. I want you to sing one from your dad.
That's happened to me. I'm singing something, and they say, hey, no, sing this or sing that.
What am I?
Okay, give me a second. I'll get there. I promise.
Yeah, what am I, a jukebox? I'm not the human jukebox. I'm here to entertain you. I got a set list. I have a band that knows this list, or a DJ, however if they're playing the tune for you.
With the world of crypto and the world of do-it-yourself and the world of NFTs, yeah, in a minute, guess what? Yeah, people are going to be able to make up their own shows for entertainers. And guess what? If they're paying right, I don't mind. Go ahead and write it up. I'll do exactly what you say.
Well, from what I understand, and I'm using Adobe Audition to record the audio version of this podcast. And Adobe, from what I understand, you don't even need to have the person there. There is a certain program that once they get all the syllables from a person, you can read a paragraph or two and get all the syllables downloaded into this program, and then they can punch in whatever they want you to say, and they will say it in your voice. And then,
not deep face, but deep voice.
Deep voice, and then they connect it with deep face. They can make you act. They won't need you for a movie. And I know you have an IMDb. I know you're getting involved with movies as well.
Yes.
But once you sell your likeness, yourself to a company, to an entity, then they own you. And that's something I want to know about from your youngest son, NFTs and cryptocurrency. I'm a dinosaur. I'm scared. I'm scared that I put my money in the bank, and my grandpa didn't want me to put money in the bank. Put it in the mattresses, hide it in coffee cans out in the yard, and it's technology. But what do you think, man, about all this going on?
I'll tell you this much. I believe it's the security of the future. I believe it will replace a lot of things. It might not ever replace gold or silver, but it'll be just as important as water and air, and less important than the American dollar.
I I heard you say gold and silver, and people still put their money in gold. A lot of the investors and the people that hopefully they know more about investing money than I do, and they probably do. Because all I know is go to a security fund guy, and here's $1,000.
Well, I'm going to tell you this.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you this. I'll tell you this as I'll tell the viewers that don't know anything about it at all either. If you didn't trade crypto or stock at all, you're going to make more interest with one of these crypto wallets than you would your bank. I'm going to leave it at that.
I wonder about that, man. And selling NFTs, you being a creator, you have all these, real things that can be sold. And then as soon as you put them online, I'm sure your youngest child can help you make it into an NFT that can be sold. And even after it's sold, you're still getting a piece of the action. This is the future. And this is, it's.
But you know
it's
what?
scary.
It's keeping the money in the community. It's keeping the money out of the government's and the politicians' hands. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with eliminating every middleman.
You're saying that, but then the conspiracy on the other side, I don't know if I'm not Democrat or Republican. I'm somewhere in the middle, because I don't believe everything that guy says or this guy says. I'm somewhere down there. But then they're saying, well, the government wants you to put all your money into their crypto, and they will give you crypto money. They will give you something that's backed by them, which is not what crypto is supposed to be. It's supposed to be backed by nobody, like a computer, like a program. SAC, I guess, is the guy.
Yeah, well, I don't blame them. Just like the cigarette companies are trying to get involved in distribution of marijuana now. It's, the government wants a piece of everything, and I get it. I get it. I'm just learning in my 50s a little bit of capitalism. It's been very unattractive to me my whole life. Mm-hmm. But my youngest son, he's rubbing off on me a little bit.
Well, I mean, I grew up in the Reagan years. I'm in my 50s as well. I mean, I remember Reaganomics. That's probably the first president that I was able to vote for, if I even voted that year. But I grew up with Nixon and Carter and then ultimately, Ford, I guess he had it for a little while, but then Reagan took over, and that's where my formidable years are, with the trickle down, where really they're just that nothing really got trickled down to the little people, to all us down here. Hey, I know you're trying to help the governments. When I was growing up, I always remember being taught the Republicans are for the businesses, and as soon as they take care of the businesses, those businesses are going to hire people, and that's going to trickle down to all the little people. And then the Democrats were just giving money directly to the little people, and maybe trickling up. Maybe they'll start their own businesses and go far. I don't know who has it right.
I don't either. Two things I don't really talk about much are politics and religion.
Yeah.
It's always a rabbit hole.
I know, and I don't know much about politics myself, and I've been through the gambit of religion. I started as a Catholic, and went to Baptist church, Jewish church, Jehovah's Witness, and Mormons, and trying to figure things out in that respect. I don't know. I landed out here, out here in the atmosphere, just trying to be a good person. I see you're a very smiley person, and and I know we stepped away from the music. Anybody that goes to your YouTube page or your Spotify page can listen to your music. And I know, man, when I'm listening to it, you were talking about your dad telling you you're not going to be a rapper, but whether you are and you have dabbled a little, you did stay a lot in the R&B. There's a lot of sweet songs out there, but there's electronica songs and jazz songs and fusion songs and some rap songs and you have not limited yourself musically. When you're growing up in the 80s, I'm guessing, what are you listening to in Motown?
Well, my mom being my mom was from Baltimore, Hagerstown, and my dad was from Mississippi. So you got black Indian guy in the South, and you got Dutch Italian majority, Dutch woman in Hagerstown, listening to what that demographic of people listen to, and he's listening to what this demographic of people listen to, and they come together and they start sharing music. And they share music throughout their lives, and I'm born, and I'm still listening to the music that they share with each other. And so it's strange. I can get into a conversation with most people about some type of music. That doesn't necessarily apply to people who have pigeonholed themselves, unbeknownst to them, and ripping themselves off. However, I mean, in the 80s, growing up, man, Stevie, The Police, Fleetwood Mac, Rolling Stones, James D. Train Williams, Alexander O'Neill, Pat Benatar, Foreigner, the OJs, the Spinners, the Commodores, Michael McDonald. I mean,
that is all across the spectrum, man.
Pat Metheny, David Sanborn.
Now you're jazzing.
I mean, the kind of music, right? The kind of music that I grew up listening to, it's crazy. Kevin Saunderson. Now we're gonna go into house music. I'm just saying, like, I grew up on so much music. Again, there were times in my life when I was like, no more. But I mean, I was just talking the other day with someone about the fact that, I was in the car and we had a good hour-long ride. Buddy of mine, white friend of mine, one of my best friends, and we've been friends about 4 or 5 years now. But every time we get in the car and we're riding, I know more music than him, and it's almost become a competition. And he's like, "Man, you know a lot of music. You should be a damn DJ." And I was like, I've thought about such a thing. I could not be narcissistic and play my own music, but play all the music that made me who I am.
Yeah.
And I'm considering it. I actually had a conversation this morning with someone in regards to starting a Roku through their production company. And because I was and am about to start again my own little podcast, I'm really considering doing that.
Man, it was Andy Warhol that said everyone's going to have 15 minutes of fame. And then a little bit later than that, everybody's going to have their own television station once cable started coming out. And yeah, with Roku, I think it's minimal. It's not even $1,000. You can have your own channel to start with. And everybody's going to have their own TV station. The only problem is you're going to have to work 24 hours a day to get 24 hours of content every day. Right. But I think that's fun.
Well, no.
Yeah.
In that 24 hours of content, you're going to need to, in order to make a whole lot of money, about 8 hours of commercials.
You better believe it, man. And, and you're not doing all the commercials yourself. You're hopefully, well, I mean, hey, once you have a name for yourself, you got agents that want to come in and help you out with that. Giving you, maybe giving you a piece of the action.
Untying your fingers.
A little bit. It takes a team.
Untying your fingers. So.
It takes a team. Once you can't do it all by yourself. You have to have. Once you get to this level by yourself, then you need to ask for help to get to the next level. And
yes, sir. Nothing great is done alone.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's one of the reasons that I started on radio was to have the opportunity to help my community and to talk to cool people. Yeah, I guess on a radio station, there's only a handful of people that make millions of dollars. Most people, $10 an hour. Okay, that's radio, right. and it's a living. Back in the '80s when I started. Hey, it was a good place to start, and it has progressed since then. But I mean, where you make the money is the notoriety, and like the notoriety that you've developed over the years. When people hear you and people see you, and they go, "Huh, I want you at my party. I want to hire you for my thing. I want you to be at my grand opening." And that's how you make the money. That's how the potential for big money comes in. Well, tell me about you growing up. I mean, a young David Ruffin Jr. in Detroit. Are you at public school or private school or getting tutored by mom or what?
Both. No, I did public school and I did private school for a moment. That just didn't work out very well, so I went back to public school. But I basically stayed in Detroit the majority of my life as a child. My mom and father broke up a couple times, and we would leave for 6 months or 8 months or something like that, and came to California. But I grew up, it's a simple life. It was a really simple life. There was no internet, so it was go outside and play, and it was, the Thundercats Ho and Ghost Speed Racer. It was. It was simple life. I feel sorry for my grandbabies and not so much my kids. I kept them pretty grounded, but my kids are they're turning in. They're trying to fight it, especially my youngest, but they're turning into some of the machine that we're seeing evolve around us since 94, I guess, is when the internet was born, or something around that time.
I mean, we're talking about technology while using technology. I'm staring into a camera that's on my computer, and I'm not recording on a reel-to-reel. I'm not recording on the magnetic tape. I'm recording digitally, and then I'm recording. I have a whole movie studio sitting here right in front of my face that didn't even cost me $1,000, which is great. That's you can be scared of technology, or like you already alluded to, embrace it. You got it. That's right. You're selling your music, you're selling your cards. You could sell them all online. You can get it all done. But what kind of?
I don't love it. I appreciate human interaction. Yeah. I really do. And of course, because of COVID, it's gotten scarce. Everything is, so different now. Fortunately, people are just getting fed up and coming out of the house anyway.
Well,
I'd rather die living than hiding.
Well, I do appreciate the interaction, the pressing the flesh, talking to people face to face. But the nice thing about this technology, especially the video and even the audio version of whatever the listener is listening to, I have the ability. I can't have David Ruffin here in my studio, but I can have David Ruffin virtually here in my studio and talk to you. And get some ideas from you and find out, what makes you tick, how you became who you are. And what kind of trouble are you getting into in school? I say trouble with the lightest, what kind of good things are you getting into in school? Are you, and with your friends, playing outside and what's your favorite extracurriculars that you're doing?
Growing up, I was a track star and football. I loved football. I loved running. I ran hurdles. A sprinter, long distance, whatever it was. I enjoyed building model cars. Did that with my dad, and I kind of did it when he wasn't around as well. What else? I did get in a little trouble as a kid, but for the most part, not really. My father he didn't rule with a wooden stick. He was a wooden stick. So, I won't get into it terribly, but my butt went through it. So I was pretty straight and narrow kind of kid. I was very bashful, very shy as a child. Felt like if I talked too much, I'd get in trouble. Not to mention, I was the youngest of all the kids, so I got picked on a lot.
How many kids? How many kids in that family? You're the only true son. You said
4.
Okay.
4. I'm the youngest and the only son.
The only son. Okay, so you have sisters. What's it like growing up with a bunch of girls in the house?
Hell.
Hey, are they putting you in hand-me-down dresses? Putting a little makeup on you?
That happened here and there, but my mom is. I am my mother's only child. I am my father's 4th.
Okay. Well, that's
so they're half. They're all half.
Yeah.
But of course, like in anything in our families, we have our favorites. So I had my favorite, who actually passed away last May. Due to COVID complications of COVID. She was healthy prior to her pre-existing conditions, and she left Detroit shortly after her booster shot, and I guess she thought she was prepared to go to Vegas. Went to Vegas, got sick. About 10, 14 days later, she was gone.
Wow. That is tragic, man. That
and
is
it was
hard.
My favorite. Actually, I'll tell you like I tell a lot of people.
Yeah.
In my family. That was my favorite Ruffin.
Yeah.
Period.
Well, keep her alive, always.
I do.
Yeah, you definitely, through your writing, through your song, through even telling me this story, you keep her alive, and that's beautiful.
I wrote her a song.
Tell me about it.
It's called I Adore You.
That's the one. Okay, I think I saw that online. Did you produced that one already, right?
It's already out, yeah.
Okay, I think I did listen to that one, and that's a beautiful song.
That particular song is on SoundCloud.
Yes. Okay, I did get all your links, and I'll put them in the show notes for sure, so people know how to get a hold of you. But I'm enjoying myself, man. I'm sorry about the sister, but
it's all good. Here's why it's all good. She had an incredible life.
Yes.
And I would say this, this is a weird parallel, because being a drug addict doesn't necessarily mean the life of a rock star. But my sister had a long bout before she got clean with drugs as well, like my father. And she had a hell of a life, and she said it herself. She probably had more fun in her life before she was 30 than I did, and she never left Detroit. So I'll say that she felt fortunate to have some of the experiences that she had. And she told me when she did get sick. And she told me before she was sick, in weak times, that, you know, a lot of the fight that she had to stay healthy was fleeting. And then once she got sick, and she had fought for about a week, 8 days, and I was able to talk to her at this point. She told me herself, I'm ready to go. And it crushed me, but not in the moment. I let her have that. I didn't steal an iota of energy from it. I said, okay, you can go. I love you. And if you need to hear from everybody, I'll do my best to make sure everybody gets on the phone or in the video and talk to you. You can go. It's okay. We're going to be all right. And it was like 2 days later, she was gone.
Well, it sounds like she lived the way she wanted to live. You know, she had some trials and tribulations, as it were. But I'm glad that she had this time with you, and you have the memory of her, and you're keeping her alive through that song, as well as other
She left some kids for me to look after. She's got kids that, you know, I'm their favorite uncle.
Of course you are.
I'm so fortunate for that, because I only had one uncle.
Well, all right, man. Well,
he was my favorite too, though. Actually, I had a second uncle later in life.
Yeah.
I didn't even know I had another uncle until I was, I don't know, 12 or 10. But yeah, still my favorite uncle was Uncle Jimmy. Yeah, miss him.
Oh, but it sounds like you had some role models in your life. I mean, what you do with Jimmy? What made him the favorite?
He was bigger than my dad. He was stronger than my dad. He was smarter than my dad. He was calmer than my dad. His disciplinary ways to me, were different than my father's. So I kind of appreciated he was a little less aggressive. So, I mean, again, he was my only real uncle. I had a lot of uncles. Oh, Dad, David Jr., that's your Uncle so-and-so. You know how it goes these days. But I only had, in my mind, one uncle. I had another uncle, but we didn't have a relationship, and then he died. So I had a relationship with his children, fortunately, and my uncle's 3 children. I have relationship. I'm sorry, 5 children. I have relationship with them as well. I said 3 because he had 2 more children after the children that we knew about in America and didn't find out until much later.
Wow. Well, I know about those uncles that come out from everywhere. I'm from a Cuban family in South Florida, but you say your dad's from Mississippi and your mom from Baltimore. That's flavor of music. I mean, I probably know the Mississippi music better than I know the Northeastern music.
Right.
You know, I'm thinking about I don't know, Northeastern music. What is that? What's up there? A lot of what?
Right.
You know, but
a lot of folk music, I guess.
Okay, I mean, yeah, it's cold up there. It's freezing. What else are you gonna do? Man, you have all these flavors, you have all these role models, you have all this, and it all becomes David Ruffin Jr. Now you get out of school, and do you go to college? Do you start working? Do you start heading towards your music career, or
I leave school?
Okay,
to work. Yeah. I leave school to work. Mom was a single mom. Yeah. It was tough. It was hard. I had to leave school. I left school for a few years, worked locally there in Detroit, eventually got my GED.
Yeah.
Got hacked into Boston College for a year and a half.
Hacked? A
buddy of mine hacked me in. I didn't pay any tuition.
What? Like
on campus?
I think
in
the
dorm.
I think I saw Ferris Bueller Day Off, and he was making. He's turning his F into an A on his computer. Is that you got a hacker in there somewhere?
Yeah, my buddy. He had the first Macintosh computer ever made, and he learned it really fast. He was making fake IDs for people.
Yeah, I think these computers are going to catch on one of these days, you know, and I think I don't know what the statute of limitations is, but allegedly I had a printer and a computer, and I think I made myself a fake ID so I can go into clubs before I was supposed to. But I'm not a drinker. I never drank, and I never did drugs. I like the smell of marijuana, and I do hang around with a lot of people, with the job I do that drink, and I see, when they come in, they go, "Hey, here we are, we're ready to go," and by the time they leave, "Hey, here we are, ready to go. I can drive.
Hey, here we go. Do I gotta go?
I can drive. What? You want me to leave?" It's a social experiment for me. But you were talking about even.
I was talking about leaving. I left, and then so I left Detroit. It was the first time as what I considered on my own, going outside of Detroit. I went with my mom. I had a summer in LA with my cousin, Jimmy's son, Jimmy Jr. I went there and never really went back home. From there, I went to Connecticut, and it was close to Boston, and my roommate lived in Connecticut, and he was living at school with me, and I didn't want to go back to Detroit because I had gotten a taste of what life was outside of Detroit, and the people were much cooler, and it was a lot more of a melting pot, and I was just like, I don't want to go back, and he was like, well, I can get you a job. He got me a job through his parents who worked for the state, so I was a special needs care worker for 3 years. Adults, not even children, adults. Good. I did that for 3 years. Made a child, went back to Detroit when my father passed. My child's mom came to hang out with me.
What year was that, so we get some kind of a timeline?
Right. That would be 90. No, that would be 80. 87, 88.
Okay.
Just dabbled in the nightlife there a little bit, promoting parties, DJing. Then my father passed, so back to Detroit. That was 91.
91. He died in Philly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my father died. I talked to my father 2 weeks before he passed away. He was in Europe.
Okay.
And a year before that, I had played him 3 of my rap songs over the phone.
What do you think about that?
He didn't like it. Hence, he said, you won't be doing that. You'll be doing this. And if you do that, I'm not helping you.
Uh-oh.
So it took me about a year to figure it out. And I played him those same 3 songs, switched up, turned into R&B. And he said, that's what I'm talking about. Now we can get to work. Now we can start working on your music. 2 weeks later, he was gone. So that never happened.
Yeah. Yeah. But you knew that your dad was proud of you. And you bent to make him proud of you. So it was a mutual thing that you did. And I'm glad you had that father-son moment, after the ups and the downs, you had that moment at the end, which is good. It's good. You make peace. That's an easier way to make peace. All right, 91. You're on your own, man. You're traveling around the country. You're making connections. You're working to help out the special needs kids. A lot of people will see the kids and they'll forget that they become adults. And those people need help too. Some of them are going to need 24-hour care the rest of their lives. And I'm glad that you were there to help out a little bit.
I'm glad too. It's humbling. It's humbling. You start having, compassion just for even the smallest things. But let me fast track you. So Dad passed. I went to Detroit. I got a job managing apartments. I was there home. I guess I was back home for a year. In that time, I met a producer through one of my tenants. He was actually the band leader of the Dramatics. His name's Tony Green. Um, and 1 second, please.
It's okay. Well, who produced your rap songs, or was that self-produced?
Those were produced by a couple of producers that I knew in Connecticut.
Okay, so you're making connections.
I'm making connections. I actually was in a group. We went between the time that my father heard me transition from rap to R&B, I made a group called Fifth Chapter with 2 singers, 2 rappers, and 1 DJ.
Okay.
And we tried to get a record deal through SBK Records. They wanted me and not them, and I wasn't with that. I felt disloyal even for being offered that opportunity. But of course, after the fact, my friends were like, why did you do that? We could have just waited. Well, I've heard the story throughout years where people were together and somebody left to go get on, and nobody was happy about it. So anyway, fast tracking again, went back, did Apollo, did a bunch of different locations with this group, even back in Detroit, all over Connecticut and New York and Boston. Then came back to Detroit. I met Tony Green. We recorded some music on me. We traveled to Los Angeles to shop a deal because we had expended a couple of our opportunities in Detroit and didn't want to deal with the people the way that they wanted to deal with us. So we went to Detroit. We went to LA. 3 weeks after we got out to LA, I met Warren G, Snoop Dogg, and DOC in the bathroom of a nightclub.
Heck yeah.
And I told my manager, hey, these 3 cats are coming out of the bathroom. Go talk to them. He was like, no, you talk to them. They're your demographic of people in music and age. I was like, oh, my God.
Thanks, manager.
Thanks, manager. So then I went ahead and I went and talked to him. And then a week after that, after I gave Warren G my phone number, a week after that, I'm talking to Warren G on the phone. 3 weeks after that, I'm in the studio meeting his brother, Dr. Dre.
Get it.
A couple months after that, I'm actually moving into a mansion that was empty with Dr. Dre and creating music and creating music and creating music and having the time of my life.
Mid-90s?
Time of my life.
Mid-90s? Late 90s?
Early.
Early mid.
Early.
Wait, Tupac's in there somewhere. You mean him?
I met Tupac. I met Tupac at the Juice movie premiere.
What?
And he stole my blunt. Literally. I was in the staircase smoking a blunt by myself, and Tupac smelled me out, came into the stairwell. We started talking, introduced myself. We're talking, boop, boop, chop, chop, chop. Next thing I know, he's laughing and getting up off the staircase and walking into the theater with my blunt.
I'm imagining Tupac like Bugs Bunny off the cartoon, smelling and just kind of coming in, and oh, there's a blunt,
Floating.
and floating in. Whoop.
So
that's a good story.
I mean, yeah, I met him before I got to Death Row, but I helped build Death Row. I helped write and produce a bunch of music. The main one that I'm probably most known for is Gin and Juice. I wrote that. I sang that.
Still a party favorite. I put that music on. I put that song on. The people go crazy. They lose their minds. There's drinks in the air, waving like they just don't care. Yeah, right. Good job.
And so I did quite a few other songs on that Doggy Style album, and then some legal things went down where I started suing Death Row, and then my first attorney was murdered, and then my second one was paid off, and then I just started hiding sort of for like 3 years, and then being a single parent in that time as well, so music really wasn't a part of what I was doing. And then, I mean, my story is so long.
That's fine. I got time, man.
I don't.
Okay, I usually don't like to let
I
these
don't.
things go. I mean, I have let them go 6 hours one time, but I don't want to go much more than an hour. But I mean, you're giving the people an idea of who you are, and this could just be part one as things.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah, as things progress, as time goes on, you have things to promote. I mean, I think
No,
the people...
I could pick up from here. I could pick up from here. I could pick up from my. I could pick up from my. I helped build Death Row and Aftermath days.
Oh my goodness!
I can pick up from there.
From what you said, the stories are true. If you've seen it on the movies. Speaking of movies, I mean, let's start winding this thing down. I mean, I want you to give shout outs to people, that have helped you along the way. But speaking of movies, there's been a lot of Temptation movies out there. What's your favorite one? Which one do you think, I mean, you're still from the outside. You don't know the full story of what went down.
I know a lot. You'd be surprised.
Oh, okay. But
I don't like any of them.
None of them did justice to any of the Temps. All right.
It won't happen until I do it or my family does it. It won't happen.
There you go. You have put it out into the universe. You have your IMDb page. You're getting involved in the movies. That's a little taste for maybe the next time that we chat. But I want you to give shout outs to people that have helped you along the way. Any projects that you want people to point towards? Because I have the DavidRuffinJr.com. I mean, that pretty much says it all right there. I mean, it's from the top. It tells you vehicles and then music. And that's the two tent poles of you, what you're into.
That's who I am.
How you make your living, how you keep the roof over your head and food on your plate. But if people go to DavidRuffinJr.com and want to get in contact with you, what kind of projects are you open to doing?
I am open to, firstly, anything proactive. Secondly, anything paying. If it's proactive, if it's not ratchet music, if it's not derogatory music, I want to be a part of it. If it's the run of the mill, if it's the common regurgitated throw up in my head, if it's the same old, I want nothing to do with it. I've had my part in that. I've had my part in pointless music to some regard. I'm not ashamed of what I did. However, I've evolved.
Exactly. It helps you grow as a person, as a creator, as an entertainer. You go through those things. Hey, look, I got in trouble when I was a kid in high school. I was trying to break out. I was trying to get my boundaries. I mean, nothing that I went to jail for, but certainly, we all tried to bust loose. And you did. You got out of Detroit. You went around the country. You made some good friends, some good acquaintances, some good business partners. And here you are in L.A., and you may or may not, I think I saw a video, you may or may not be heading back for Detroit. You don't know where you're heading really right now, but right now you're based in L.A., in the L.A. area, like L.A. proper?
Yes, sir. Okay. I'm right here in L.A. County, right outside of Hollywood in San Fernando Valley.
Well, fantastic. I mean, give some shout outs to people that have helped you along the way if you want, and then we'll give
I'd like to shout out my mom, of course, first and foremost. Thank you, Mom, for everything you do. Dad, keep it up. I'd like to give a shout out to Axe Management. I'd like to give a shout out to Ashley. I'd like to give a shout out to the Queen. I'd like to give a shout out to St. James for his support. I'd like to give a shout out to all of my fan base on Facebook with the David Ruffin Jr. fan page. I'd like to give a shout out to you and Miss Bree. You know where you are and what you've done for me. I really appreciate you. A lot of what I'm doing as of lately is really just based on the community and the support and the love. Because I've put out music in the past, and I've spent even upwards of $7,000 to $10,000 to get it some looks and some love. Didn't make an iota of difference. No matter, even though I'm connected to one of the most prolific and dominant voices in the world, it never really matters. Everything is timing and preparation. Be ready for it.
Yeah, well, I mean, tell me about all the juniors that you've been working with. I mean, when I was in Miami, I got to know Tito Puente Jr., and he is like pretty much embodied what his dad was. Before that, he was doing his rap thing, doing his dance thing, doing all that. But now he's pretty much playing those timbales
Yes, sir.
and embodying what his dad was. But you said you had a group where you were doing the juniors.
Yeah, I actually am a part of a group called the Sons of Motown, which is male offspring of actual Temptations.
Yeah.
Paul Williams Jr., David Ruffin Jr., Melvin Franklin Jr., Richard Street Jr., and I apologize, Glenn Leonard Jr., and C.J. Jefferson, who is Dennis Edwards' godson.
Excellent, man.
As of recently, I believe we're booking shows soon. Not as of yet. We had our first show about 3 weeks ago, but because some conflict of interest with one of our members' schedules, we're going to try to wait on him. If not, there will be the four of us, which will be CJ, myself, Melvin, and Glenn.
Well, that's kind of an homage to what the Temps were. I think at one point there was 2 sets of Temptations.
Yes, there was.
So that's a whole nother story that we can probably delve into at another time. So I don't want this to be the last time we chat. I am going to be following you around on your various social medias. And well, I usually like to finish these things off with last words for the people. This could be, words to live by, something you heard a long time ago, maybe a mantra that you wake up with every morning, or just whatever pops into your head at this moment in time. David Ruffin Jr., give the last words for the people.
I know you want to leave me, but I refuse to let you go. And if I have to beg and plead for your sympathy, I don't mind, 'cause you mean that much to me. Ain't too proud to beg, sweet darling, please don't leave me, don't you go. Ain't too proud to plead, baby, baby, please don't leave me, girl, don't you go. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure to share some of myself with you, and I shall be back. Let's, just like he said, consider this part 1. And I'll come back and give you an update on what's going on with me lately. Keep your eyes open for the David Ruffin Jr. LP and the new release video of Time of My Life coming up here in the next couple weeks. Thank you again for your time. Thank you again for your interest and your support. Feel free to share anything that you find on my website. Feel free to share anything that you find here in this interview and on any of my social medias. If you aren't a purchasing fan, feel free to go to YouTube and stream some music. If you are a purchasing fan, DavidRuffinJr.com. DavidRuffinJr.com. DavidRuffinJr.com.
Oh my goodness, there you have it, David Ruffin Jr., a man with a story that is so dense it cannot be contained in one single hour podcast. I'm going to have to talk to him again. Thank you, David Ruffin Jr., for telling a little bit about your story and having a little conversation about, what makes you tick, what makes you who you are. Yeah. So now we know a little bit more about David Ruffin Jr. Thank you very much. I look forward to the next time. Until then, I'll be following you around on your various social medias, looking out where the new music is coming from, whether it be your solo efforts or your group efforts. David Ruffin Jr. works well with others. So if you need some entertainment in your next event, why not give David Ruffin Jr. a call? Check him out on davidruffinjr.com. Yeah, do it. Thanks again, David Ruffin Jr. Have I said David Ruffin Jr. enough? I don't know. I'm excited. That was a good conversation. I enjoyed talking to David Ruffin Jr. That's it for this edition of What Makes You Famous. Now, if you, yes, you, my loyal listener, if you'd like to tell your story, I encourage you to give me a call, 501-470-6386, or email keysdan@aol.com. That's it for me. It's keysdan, radiowhat.com, djlittlerock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.